We continue now at the top of Daf Vav Amud Aleph Meseches Makkos. This is Makkos Daf 6a. On the previous Amud, the Mishnah said that if you have witnesses, let's say 3 or 4 witnesses, you only need 2, of course. But still, if one of those witnesses is found to be a karov, apostle, a relative, or disqualified, so we throw out all of the witnesses. That's what the Mishnah said on the previous Amud. And the Mishnah now continues. Amar Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says, "B'med devarim amurim." When is this true? B'dinei nefashos. This is true when we're talking about capital cases. And Rashi explains, "B'dinei nefashos tichsib," because it's written by Dinei nefashos v'hitzilu ha'eda. It says that you're going to try to save. Umhadrina naschu. So we try to render the person innocent. We try to say that the person is innocent. So we'll throw out all of the witnesses if it turns out that one of them is a karov apostle. Avol b'dinei mamanis. However, when it comes to dinei mamanis, tiskayim ha'edus b'shar. So then you could say that the testimony is accepted even with the rest of the witnesses. You'll just throw out the disqualified witness and you will accept the rest of the witnesses. And the Mishnah continues. Rebbe Omer. Rebbe says, "Echad dinei mamanis ve'echad dinei nefashos." It's true by both dinei mamanis and dinei nefashos. Rashi explains, "Echad dinei mamanis nami edusim betela." When it comes to dinei mamanis as well, we're going to say that the testimony is thrown out if even one of the witnesses is found to be disqualified. And the Mishnah continues, "Ve'emosai." And when is this true? And we're going to see Rashi on this in a moment. Bisman shehisru behen. That's true if they issue the warning to them. Avol bisman shelo hisru behen. But if it's a situation where they do not issue the warning, mayasu shnei achen sharo be'echad shaharagas hanefesh. What are 2 brothers going to do if they see someone kill someone? You see from that last line in the Mishnah that this last line of ve'emasai is talking again about dinei nefashos, about capital cases. And Rashi explains, bisman shehisru behen, meaning uvedinei nefashos, when it comes to capital cases, ki amrinon batla. When do we say that all of the witnesses are nullified if one of them is found to be bisman sha'karov, if one of them is found to be a karov apostle? That's bisman sha'karov apostle nishtatif be'edus mitchila. That's only if that relative or if that disqualified witness was joined together with the group of witnesses from the beginning. Liosman hamasrin ba'over naveir. He was one of the people that warned the person who was transgressing. In other words, if you have a group of witnesses and let's say they were all part of the warning, so then they're all one group. And if one of them is found to be karov apostle, so the entire set of witnesses is thrown out. Avolim lo hisru behen. But let's say they didn't issue the warning. V'lo kivnu lios edim bedavar. Rashi says what that means is they didn't have intention to be witnesses in this at all. So then lo botla edus ha'cherim, the edus of the others is not going to be nullified b'shvil riyason shalelo, just because these relatives happen to see what happened. Because what's going to be, let's say 2 brothers, sharoim shlishi, let's say they see together with a 3rd person, min hashuk from the marketplace, bi'echad sharagas hanefesh, let's say you have 3 witnesses, and it happens to be 2 of them are brothers. So what are you going to say? You're going to say you have to throw everything out just because it happened to be that relatives witnessed the murder? You're not going to say that. So as long as that brother, one of those brothers, was not part of the witnesses, he didn't have intention to be a witness, and he didn't issue the warning, he's not part of the group, and we say that we still accept the testimony from the 2 witnesses. And the Gemara says, Amar Rava says, V'hu shayidu kulam besoch kadei dibur. When we say that this large group of witnesses is considered to be one unit, that's if they all testify betoch kadei dibur. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Ravacha mi difti le Ravina. Ravacha from difti said to Ravina, Michti let us see. Toch kadei dibur hechidami. What exactly is toch kadei dibur? It's kadei she'elas talmud l'rav. It's a small amount of time, the amount of time that a student asks shalom to his rebbe. So meya tuvahav, if you would have, for example, 100 witnesses, that's way too many. They can't all testify within a few seconds. And the Gemara continues and answers, Amarle said to him, Kol chad v'chad besoch kadei dibur shal chaveru. All we mean is that each testimony should start within a few seconds of the other one, ending betoch kadei dibur of the other person testifying. Rashi explains, V'hu shayidu kulan besoch kadei dibur hasam ka'amra masnis. And that's where the Mishnah says, Meya kashnayim, that if you have 100 witnesses, it's like 2 witnesses. They're all considered one unit. Avolim hayidu hashnayim. But let's say 2 of them would testify. Well, liachar zman hayidu acher. And then after some time, others come in and testify. Harein kishtei kitos l'chol davar. That would be considered like 2 separate sets in terms of all issues. V'chol echad v'echad, and each one hischil l'hoid, meaning each person begins to testify besoch kadei dibor shal siyumo shal chaver, within toch kadei dibor of the finishing up of the one before him. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots. The Mishnah said, Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva says, Lo bashlishi v'chulu ma'ashnaim, that the 3rd one, when the pasuk mentions the 3rd one, it's not coming to be lenient, it's actually coming to be strict. It's coming to be saying that the 3rd one as well, he can be included in the punishment of kasher zamam. And the Mishnah then goes on to bring the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Again, Rabbi Yossi said, by Dinei Nefashos, that's where we say, if one of them is disqualified, we throw out the entire testimony because we're trying to save the person. And so the Gemara now continues and says, Amar le Rav Papa li Abaya. Rav Papa says to Abaya, Ela me'ata, but according to that, meaning according to Rabbi Yossi, that we're trying to save the defendant, and we'll say that as long as one of them is a karov apostle, and apparently Rabbi Yossi does not agree with what's said at the end of the Mishnah, that all of the witnesses have to be part of the warning, but rather no, as long as there's any witness that's disqualified, we throw them all out. So now Rav Papa asks Abai, according to that, Harog Yatzil, then the person who was murdered, he should actually save, he should save in that situation, save himself, he should save the murderer rather, because we'll say he himself is part of the witnesses, and he's of course a disqualified witness. The person being murdered can't also be the witness. Rashi says, Harog Yatzil Rabbi Yossi, meaning according to Rabbi Yossi, the Amar Af below Hisro, Shalom Niskavin Lohoid, because Rabbi Yossi says, even if they don't have any intention to be witnesses, even if they didn't issue the warning, who matzil asanidon, he's able to save the defendant mipnei korva because he's related. So harag nami yatzil asanidon, so the person being killed should actually save the defendant. Sharei gam hu ra, because he saw what happened, he saw himself get killed. V'hu karov eitzel atzman, he's related to himself. So we should say that in every situation of murder. And the Gemara says, well, we can answer that. Keshahargo me'achorav. The case over here is that he was killed from behind, so he actually never saw anything. Rashi says, Keshahargo me'achorav miskaimin kol mikros. That's when you'll have to say that the psukim are that the psukim work. That we say that the murderer is killed, meaning according to this, a murderer is only going to be killed for murder if the person he killed him from behind, because otherwise, if that person who's being killed was also a witness, he would actually disqualify all of the witnesses. That's what the Gemara is suggesting over here. And the Gemara continues, Nirba Yatzil. Let's say you have a situation of a Nirba, that talks about a situation of Mishkav Zocher, a male with another male. So again, that person who is being violated by the other male, so that in that situation, he should be a witness, so to speak, one of the witnesses, and he's related to himself, and he should save the person who was roveya him. And the Gemara says, Kisharavu me'achorov. The case over here is, again, that it happened from behind, he never saw anything. But the Gemara still continues and asks, Horeg v'roveya yatzilo. But let the murderer himself, he should be counted as a witness, or the roveya, the person who had the mishkav zocher with the nirba, they should save themselves. They should be witnesses, and they're related to themselves. And the Gemara says, Ishtik, the Gemara says, to that he was silent. And the Gemara says, Kiyasa lakami de Rava, when he came before Rava, Amar le, he said to him in answer to the question, Yakum Davar, the pasuk says Yakum Davar. This is the pasuk by testimony. It says Al pi shnei edim, or Al pi shlosha edim Yakum Davar, and we understand that to mean b'mekayim davar akasim medaber. We're only talking about those who are mekayim the matter. We're talking about the witnesses. We're not talking the people who are actually acting in the crime, or let's say the person who was killed or the person who is killing. We're not talking about the people who are involved. We're talking about the witnesses. And Rashi explains Yakum Davar ksib b'haykra. That's what it says in this pasuk. Shason lekulam kishnayim, that we treat all the witnesses like the two witnesses. They're all one group. The hainu ha'edim, meaning it's only in reference to the witnesses. Avolo ba'ose hadavar. It's not the people that are actually doing the actions. It's the people that are witnessing the actions that we are referring to. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Amar Reb Yossi b'med devar mamurim v'chulu mayasu shnei. Again, the end of the Mishnah. That was Rebbe's statement. What are two brothers going to do when they see someone kill? Obviously, it says Rebbe, they must not really be part of the witnesses if they don't have intention to be witnesses, because otherwise, anytime two brothers happen to witness a murder, the murderer is going to get off. And the Gemara says, Heichi amrin lahu. What exactly do we say to them? Rashi explains, Heichi amrin lahu lakarovu pasal. What do we say to the relative or the disqualified witness? Lemivdekinu imit to check, to examine if they really did originally have intent for Edis. Did they originally have intent to be witnesses? Amar Rava says, Hachi Amrin, this is what we say to them. Did you come just to see, or did you come to be witnesses? If they say that we came to be witnesses, so then Nimtza Echan Karov Apostle, if one of them turns out to be a relative or disqualified in some other fashion, then all the witnesses are nullified. And but if they say that we just were seeing, we were just looking, we're not really coming to be witnesses, then what are two brothers going to do if they see someone murder? Obviously, in that case, we're not going to say that the murderer is going to get off. And the Gemara continues, Itmar was stated, Amar Rav Yehuda Mar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says, halacha ki Rav Yossi. The halacha is like Rav Yossi, again, in reference to the machlokus between Rav Yossi and Rebbe in the Mishnah. Do we say this idea of Mayasu Shnei Achin Shero Be'echad Shahar Agas HaNefesh? Rav Nachman Omer, Rav Nachman says, halacha ki Rebbe. The halacha is like Rebbe, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Vav Amid Beis.